So this is part two. No, not part two. This is part three of What If Callum Had the Omnitrix from Dragon Prince, or Callum from Dragon Prince on the Netflix series. Now, if you haven't seen part one or part two, go and see it, or I'll probably have it a link to it in the description below. Or yeah, I'll probably have a link to it. Maybe not. Don't really know. So basically, let's get into it, guys. And after the video, I am gonna be uploading part two of What If Callum What If Callum was Kryptonian, and yeah. So basically, let's go on to it, guys. So basically, what happens after part two is when the dragon egg is seen fading away or its light is dimmering. Now we switch to Callum and the rest of the group, Israel and Rayla, and also Callum are all in a cave with a fire brewing, basically them trying to keep warm. Now, basically, as they're doing that, so basically, you switch to Callum, basically talking about his mother with pretty much Israel, and they get cut short. Rayla walks in, basically looking at the drawing or art that Callum has made, basically saying that she's beautiful. Now, basically they talk the same type of way. Basically them seeing that the egg is dimmering, and Callum saying that the egg was glowing so bright before, but now it's just dim and flickery. We get switched back with basically, what was it? Basically, with the knight that trained Callum at the beginning, and also Callum's crush he had on in the beginning. So basically, they do their whole entire thing. Basically, with the hound dogs losing the scent, with the hound dogs they had losing the scent of Callum and Israel, and basically them, well, at a dead stop or at a stop in their tracks from trying to find them. Now we can switch back to Callum and the rest of the group. So basically, with Rayla, Callum, and Israel pretty much coming to coming to a human town trying to find a dragon expert to help with the egg. Now basically, Rayla gets her same type of disguise, getting pretty much gloves from some sort of snowman that she calls a snow elf for some apparent reason. Her doing her stupidly cringy human accent or human disguise, whatever she was trying to pass it on as. Her saying human way too much. So basically, she gets the same disguise as always, or as originally, but Callum starts to think to himself, could he help it himself? But he did shut down that idea, because he was thinking into just, grabbing the egg and burning it or trying to heat it up with heat blast. But I feel like, and he felt like he wouldn't have enough, willpower to actually heat it up enough not to burn it or to slightly, warm it up. So basically, they get put back on course after Callum says we gotta, go into the town. They go into the town with Rayla still in her cloak disguise or whatever. Now basically, they run into a crowd watching some sort of man talking about his stories about fighting monsters of horror or mystery. Now Callum sees the man basically challenges anybody to fight him, and he'll win with just his dagger. Now basically, Callum is thinking to himself maybe he should go, but he's also another part of his mind, the smarter part of his mind, says I can't really do that because, the Omnitrix and everything, and what if I transform for some crazy reason and I expose myself or show myself. So basically, Callum just brushes it off and ignores the man. Basically, the man challenging another human, but getting stopped by somebody, I don't know, his wife or a female. So basically, the warrior or the man starts pointing out in the crowd and pretty much points at Rayla saying, how about you? But getting stopped by some sort of big man with a huge sword. I mean, like a cloud type sword. So basically the man goes on about how this is even my biggest sword. And the sword is as tall as the man he's fighting. or the man that was talking trash at the beginning. So basically, it's a pretty big sword. So basically, a woman out in the crowd says, let's take that bet." And basically, uh, what happens is that the man takes out a magical or some sort of enchanted blade of some sorts, basically completely annihilating this man's with the big sword, cutting his sword inch by inch or foot by foot with his enchanted dagger that is seemed to burn through objects, kind of like a laser knife or kind of like a solder iron, something like a lightsaber type stuff. So basically, he cuts to the man's sword, and basically the man runs off sobbing, basically being, well, folded in public after all that trash talk. So basically, the man is triumphant, and he gets all his bet money. So basically, for the whole entire, pretty much Rayla still gets the idea to try to get the man's dagger that cut her bind off. Now we can switch to Ezreal and pretty much Rayla and Callum talking about how pretty much that was awesome. But Rayla says that was a Sunforged blade. Pretty much, well, Israel's saying, "I can't believe that's actually a Sunforged blade, a real one." But basically, Israel coming to the conclusion that he doesn't know what is even a Sunforged blade. Now, Rayla explains in Sadia, Sunfire elves can make magical weapons. So basically, the swords, pretty much she explains how Sunforged blades are made, and they are able to keep the same heat from the moment they were forged, meaning that they basically can burn through basically anything, depending on how hot they were forged. So, pretty much saying that the Sunforged blade has been the Sunforged blades can stay as hot for years or centuries from the day they were forged. So basically, Rayla looks and explains the whole entire gist about, well, the Sunforged blade. Basically, Callum telling her if that blade can cut through anything, how about it can cut through your binding? Pretty much Rayla saying that instead of Callum. Now basically, Callum would have been saying that's a great idea and let's well do it. Now basically them thinking about how they're going to get the blade from him. Now Callum is thinking about just going to accelerate and just grabbing the blade out of the man's hand and running back and cutting it off of Rayla's wrist. But we have to wait. But basically Callum's still saying that we need to find a help for the egg, so you go get the dagger yourself, Rayla. So Rayla goes after the pretty much man, asking them what are you gonna do about the egg. Basically they say we got it covered and you go find, how to cut off that bind of yours. And we'll try to find some sort of dragon expert here. So basically we get to go back to the other people that were tracking down Callum and Israel, basically them finding an elf hair, pretty much saying that wherever we find the elf, we'll find, well, Callum and Israel. But basically her saying that a blood-sucking monster of an elf out of the most psychotic voice, but then saying cute braid though to that piece of hair they found. So I don't understand what this girl, Claudia or whatever, but like Claudia, she a psychopath, like bro, she weird. But basically we can switch back to the rest of the group, to Rayla, Israel, and Callum, and we can switch back to Callum and Israel finding some sort of animal doctor place and trying to see if they can fix the egg or help with the egg. So basically they meet up with the animal doctor and them having the same type of conversation. Now, the animal doctor asks for what I can help you with, but them pretty much cutting off from them, cut back to the pretty much man with the fire forged blade, the Sunforged blade, with Rayla tracking him down. Rayla is spotted by the man, and the man starts booking it. Like, he takes off, my guy. Rayla tracking him down and following him to building, her jumping from building, him just running down the alleyways and roads. Him being cornered and basically looking around, seeing that Rayla is nowhere to be seen. But out of nowhere, Rayla dropping down, Batman style, behind the man with the dagger. Rayla explains to the man that she wants your help. He wants his help, but she doesn't want his money at all. So basically, he's confused. Us getting switched back to Callum, and basically Callum, Bait, and pretty much Ezreal back at the animal doctor. Them telling him about the whole entire egg. Callum shows the man the egg, basically him being not as reluctant because if anything goes south, he can just transform and get out of the situation pretty fast with Accelerate. So Rayla has the same altercation with the man with the dagger. Us being switched back to Rayla and the dagger. Now Rayla sees that the dagger didn't do anything to the binder and is not coming off. She gets angry, but she doesn't. She says, "I'm not gonna hurt you, man. I am not gonna steal from you." Throwing the blade to the ground, and pretty much seeing the blade melt through the ice with ease. Now, basically, Rayla walks off, and the man being scared. Now we get switched back to horses with Claudia, and I don't know her brother's name, and I don't really care. So basically, they started looking for the elf. We get switched back to the man, and at the pretty much animal doctor place, the animal doctor, with everything, and pretty much them showing him the animal egg, the dragon egg. The animal doctor tells him that the egg's heartbeat is faint and slow, and it feels like, well, to them, Callum just thinks that it's dying or something. And he gets told the truth after the man says, the animal doctor is saying that it's dying. Now, basically, Callum and Israel have the most shocked expressions on their faces. Now, Callum thinks this is a really bad thing, but tries to think to himself, what can he do to save the egg? Can he heat it up? Or he asked the man, can he heat it up enough to bring it back to life? Now, basically, the man says, if you heat it up with the force of a literal 1,000 suns, it wouldn't come back to life. It will just melt. It will just burn it or cook it. So basically, Callum thinks more and more, seeing what he can do. Maybe he can fly to a dragon or something else, or he can just crack it open. Maybe it's already formed. So basically, Callum's thinking and thinking, but the doctor keeps on going with his talk. Basically, Ez and Callum get told the bad news that it's nothing the animal doctor can do about the egg. So basically, the egg, and Rez, pretty much, Callum says, come on, let's go, and let's find another way. So basically, Bait and Ez and Callum are about to leave. And basically, they're about to leave when they get told, wait, from the animal doctor. The animal doctor tells them about the mountain called Chimera, and basically pretty much tells them about a miracle that was formed there years ago. And I've been hesitant to tell you this because it would be such dangerous, journey, or so dangerous. So basically, Callum and Israel meet up with the woman or the person that was given the miracle on the mountain. Now basically, she tells them about everything she went through, and Callum understands it. Callum and Israel are told about the whole entire flashback and everything, and pretty much everything, and how, the dog was saved and all that other stuff. So basically, they leave saying thank you so much. Well, Callum says thank you so much, and basically, they leave. It's just about the Claudia and her brother basically going down the same path that they did originally, and I'm just gonna skip it off here because I'm not gonna end it off here. I just don't want to go back and forth with Claudia and her brother's mission, because it's not gonna really change at all. So basically, you just can switch back to the rest of the group. So basically, Callum, or basically Rayla, says that the binding isn't coming off and all the other stuff. Now basically, Callum thinks of something incredible and says, let me try something. Him turning into Ghost Freak when no one's looking, and him grabbing the binder and trying to phase it off of Rayla's hand, but it's not working, and when he touches it, it basically, he phases right through it. So he can't really rip it off or anything like that. So basically, Callum thinks of something else, trying to do something else. He transforms into Accelerate, trying to pick it off with his claws. Nothing works. And Rayla says it's not gonna work. It's nothing. It's none of your creatures or alien. None of your creatures or transformations can help me. Now, basically, Callum transforms into one last creature forearms and tries to put his fingers underneath the binding, trying to rip it off, but nothing's working. He tries something else. Callum uses his heat blast form to try to burn the pretty much uh binding off. Now it semi works, but it doesn't work enough to actually get it off. The binding does pretty much loosen just an inch, but not much to actually release the pain. So basically, Callum slightly burns Rayla's hand, and also it doesn't do anything except just leave a little bit of a black mark underneath the binding. So basically, Callum transforms, timing out because it took like 10 minutes for him to try everything with each transformation he did. Him not trying any other transformations, just the ones that he thought that would help. So basically, Callum tells Rayla, after him trying everything, about the whole entire miracle in the mountains. So basically, when they look at the mountain and tell where the miracle, pretty much maker is at the top of the cursed mountain, basically them getting cut short when the townspeople try to pretty much, well, pretty much they look at Cal, pretty much the man before with the dragon, with a blade, basically charges an angry mob towards Rayla, trying to, well, kill her. They just have to run off, trying to get away from the angry mob. Pretty much Callum or Israel telling Callum to try to transform, and try to transform, like it'd be the greatest time for the transform right now. Callum saying that he timed out a couple minutes ago. The Omnitrix has only 2 minutes, only like 3 minutes left to actually, well, boot back up and be able to be used. Now basically they start running and running and running. So basically they get away without having to transform, or without Callum having to transform. Basically them going near the cursed mountain. The mob not following, stopping. The man saying not to follow. There's no need to follow them because they'll never make it out alive from the cursed mountain. And that's how we're going to leave off episode 6. Now we move on to episode 8. Now basically we could switch to the team, or the trio, basically running up the mountain, up the pretty much mountain, and trying to get away from the angry mob. Then eventually find out the angry mob isn't nowhere to be found. Basically, when they try to figure out where to find the miracle maker, basically they get short when basically the girl from earlier with her miracle pretty much brought back a dog, her saying that I'll help you and I'll help you find the way. Now basically Rayla and the girl get met up. Basically Callum telling her about everything about how Rayla tried to kill Ez, and basically they get the same intel like in canon, getting told to go all the way towards. So basically they go down into, up to the twirly twisty tree that the girl says that she was found by the pretty much magical miracle healer, and was told pretty much, she went up there and she basically went down there, the magical healer. So basically guys, I just took a time lapse because I had to stop the video, and so I'm doing the rest of this video like an hour between. It's like been an hour since the last recording, so I did a time jump. But let's continue with the story. So basically, doing everybody finding out where to go, they would go to the tree. They get to the top of the mountain or the cliff area, and when the girl is talking about pretty much how beautiful the skies are up in the cliff, she also says the terrors are about to begin. Basically, horrors, monsters, and stuff like that's gonna come. And she goes on about how all the undescribable terrors and monsters it's gonna get way, way, way worse the higher they go. Basically, her saying it nonchalantly, like it's not even a big deal. Basically, Callum, when they are told about the monsters, Callum makes a plan. Callum makes a plan to use the Omnitrix alongside Bait and also the dog with the girl. Basically, making the same plan for Ezreal and the girl, but also for his plan with the Wind Rune spell actually being changed. Him using the Omnitrix, using farms to do a sound wave to pretty much attack the monster, or just straight up just box with the monster. So basically, well, technically, he doesn't really have to make a plan because he would just transform into something to win against the monster. But basically, he makes that plan so the monster would get confused by the blinding lights, so he wouldn't see farms coming, and it would be also double confused by the dog running around in circles around it, and then farms would jump in and punch the monster as hard as I possibly can. Then tell him the plan, and basically her saying transformation. Are you gonna use transformation magic? Basically, Israel not want to tell her about the Omnitrix and how about it helps him transform into things, or transforms him into things. He basically says, yeah, transformation magic. Now basically, but Rayla gives him the idea to actually use his rune spell because he might, he still has to do that cooldown period with the, Omnitrix. And 10 minutes might not be enough to take down a group of monsters. So, pretty much he resorts back to the original plan in canon using his rune spell and telling Rayla to finish it off with her swords. Her saying the same thing, that her hand is messed up and she can only use one blade. But she also has the idea, and she figures out the whole entire lightning spell for Callum. Callum figures it out and basically says we can use a lightning spell on the monster. Basically, Callum redoes his plan in those, voices or whatever. Basically, them just looking at him like he's stupid. They walk off, and he follows shortly after. We get switched up to the castle with the hostage elf and the warlock or the wizard's magic user. Basically, we get switched off there because nothing really happens or interesting happens there. So basically, we get switched back to in the mountains with the rest of the group, the main group, the A squad. Basically, them going down to the forest and them looking around. They eventually come across a monster. Now, halfway through the forest area of the mountain, they start making jokes about the cursed caldera because nothing interesting is happening and no real, threats are around. So basically, they start making jokes. Callum does a stupid, more or less Karen type joke, or maybe basically just makes a stupid joke, and they just look at him like he's stupid. The cricket starts chirping after a long silence of them just looking at him crazy because of his terrible joke. So basically, the girl pretty much looks around saying that it's pretty weird that nothing mysterious or scary has happened. But her shortly seeing look, I see a huge scary monster. Pretty much Callum is startled, jumps up and looks around where the monster is. Callum looks at it, but basically the girl says that, well, don't worry, the monster's dead. Basically, Callum saying, why did you say it like that? Her saying pretty much what she said. Saying, what do you mean? Now, basically, Callum is kind of, irritated, but just goes along with the journey. When they look at the monster's dead, pretty much body, they look around and they see that it's been strained dry of its blood by some sort of bite mark. Huge bite mark, about the size of like a bowling ball type of thing. Basically, they look around and they see that another big giant slug type monster is around them and is about to, attack them. Now, Callum, basically the plan starts going to absolute doo-doo water after everybody is split up. Bait is across, like I got a couple feet away from the group, messing with the cricket, and him doing his blinding lights too soon on the rest of the team, making them blind, making the monster easier to pick him off. The monster starts circling towards them, and the girl starts running off with her dog riding it like a horse. Basically, Callum saying, new plan, scatter, pretty much everybody running away. Now they get away from the slug, basically Callum making up a plan. Now he sees that as no other choice and goes to the Omnitrix trying to find some sort of alien to take down the slug or to get them across the slug. But he says that Stinkfly might not be a good choice because I might just, fly over it, but it might just follow us to the tree. So basically, Callum goes for Heat Blast. Now, Callum doesn't transform yet, but he's thinking about it. But he looks around, seeing that the slug is waiting for everybody to get down from their high places so he can, eat them. But Rayla says, why is he even trying to follow us since we don't even have that much blood for it? So basically, Callum makes a plan to try to take down the slug with Heat Blast. Now, basically, Rayla says that right before Callum's about to press the Omnitrix, saying to transform into something that beat it up, to take it out. So basically, Callum transforms into Heat Blast. Now, before all of that, Callum was looking around the slug trying to see a good area to throw a fireball. As that was happening, pretty much everybody originally was having the same talk. Callum having that talk with the girl, but not about the magic, about how, the castle and the Omnitrix and how he doesn't know what it truly is. And it might just be a magic relic. Basically, Callum having a slighter, quicker conversation with the girl, and pretty much Callum having a little bit of character development. Now, for the whole entire Marela and Israel situation, they still have the same talk, and basically, they go down the tree, basically looking around for the slug. The slug shows up, Callum using his fireballs to pretty much keep the slug at bay, throwing more fireballs and fireballs. The giant slug goes harder and harder, pretty much Callum at one time shooting one huge bolt of, fire. One huge bolt of fire. Now it burns the slug from the inside out and takes it out, and pretty much burning it. Now Rayla cuts it open because the slug was still a little bit moving, and basically after that whole entire shenanigan. So basically, Callum and basically, uh, after Rayla cuts open the slug, basically she sees that miniature slugs or leeches start getting on her. She says, "Help me," and Callum uses a little bit of his fire, precisely shearing off all the slugs with his flames, not shearing them off hard enough to actually burn Rayla, but burning these slugs themselves from the mouth so they don't regurgitate in the wounds they're making, trying to get blood from Rayla. Because that's what happens when you try to burn a slug off. They, vomit in the wounds, so you don't want to do that. So basically, they get off of Rayla, and Callum transforms right that second. Now, after that event, we can switch back to the castle with the elf. Now, nothing really interesting happens there. And basically, after that, pretty much the same thing happens. And the wizard, or whatever, Claudia's father, becomes more or less a monster like. So basically, after him absorbing the elf, or killing him, I don't know. So basically, they find the swirly tree and they get to it. And basically, I'm going to leave it off here, guys. So that would be the end of episode 8. And basically, that will be the end of episode 8, Curse Caldera. Now I'm going to be continuing with episode 9 and 10. And basically, during the beginning of season 2, Callum's Omnitrix will start to enhance to pretty much, what is it? Will start to enhance towards basically, oh, no, his Omnitrix will start to enhance to the Alien Force Omnitrix, and with all the alien transformations with Alien Force. So basically, that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day. Bye.